No, that's not Beethoven she's listening to. That's the music her brain is composing.
With this process, what the brain actually gets to do is to hear its own pattern of brainwaves, to hear the amplitudes.
Those amplitudes created by the brain are mirrored back to it through musical sounds, like the tones you're hearing now. This tune is unique to Melanie's brain activity. The brain needs to listen back to itself in real time for the technology to be effective.
And it adjusts itself, just as when you look in the mirror and see something amiss and you start to fix it itself. So it's a kind of feedback that our brain doesn't usually get. As we go through life and have the bumps of life, the small traumas, the big traumas, the difficult times in our life, our brain reacts to those times, and it sometimes doesn't calm back down to how it was before. Those are the symptoms you sometimes end up being treated by a drug. And so those, being able to see how they're out of balance and have the brain hear through the tones that imbalance, then allows it to find its more natural way when it's functioning well.
Like any technology, the best way to understand it is to try it. So what are we going to experience here today?
Well, basically you're going to be listening to the sound of your brain activity.
Okay, and how does that change our habit and really get our brain balanced in a positive way?
Well, your brain, through the experiences that you have, develops certain pathways, right? Neurons make connections with one another, and these connections result in neural pathways. And so when you experience sustained trauma over a period of time, or you have a big trauma that happens, what can happen is your brain can get stuck in a functional pattern that may have been adaptive at the moment, but is no longer adaptive.
For Melanie Lucia, her brain got stuck in that pattern while suffering from a concussion.
The best way for me to describe it would be walking around in a fog. Probably the first couple weeks that I had the concussion, I was in bed and couldn't be exposed to even having the television on. It was like having your senses assaulted. So it was dark, quiet room for me. And when I did finally start to come out of that a little bit, it was very foggy-brained. I couldn't think straight.
Melanie was living a very busy life. After her injury, she didn't know how she would be able to keep up with her hectic schedule.
I didn't know how I was going to be able to continue, working and trying to finish my master's degree as well, and I needed to do something.
So she came here to the BrainWise Neural Integration Center.
I noticed immediately that my sleep had improved, and that was a big one, because when you're not sleeping, you're not, whether you've got a concussion or not, we all know what we feel like when we haven't had a good night's sleep.
So when people's sleep improves, everything starts to improve. Their mood can improve, energy levels, waking up refreshed. So it really is a systemic change that happens.
The technology helps the brain change itself naturally. Instead of addressing symptoms, the brain is given an opportunity to balance and heal itself in a non-invasive way. Deborah Marshall says balancing the brain can address many issues such as ADHD, stress, depression, and brain injury. And she says the technology can be beneficial to anyone, from people suffering from an injury or a child with a learning disability.
When I first learned about this and started to talk to people, I was told by somebody, you'll see miracles happen in your office. I thought, well, that's a pretty lofty goal to have. But we actually have. We've seen people really get their lives back.
To learn more about the technology, visit brainwise.ca. In Nanaimo, at BrainWise Neural Integration Center, I'm Rayanne LaPlante.